Hello everybody and welcome back to the Not Applicable Formula 1 channel. I hope you are well and I hope you are enjoying this year's Formula 1, even though thus far there has only been one race. Something that I've seen people doing though are speculating about the 2022 Formula 1 grid and where the drivers will be in a year's time. And I figured I would jump in on this as well, basically because it's just guessing, right? There's no way of knowing in 22 races time what teams are going to be where and what teams are going to need for next season. But let's sort of hypothetically look at the grid, have a little look at who is where at the minute and maybe where we can see some changes. So I'm going to start off, I think there's 5 teams that aren't really going to change anything. The first of which is Red Bull. Red Bull literally just brought in Perez. They have been looking for a driver to fill that secondary seat for the longest of times. And I think Perez will actually do quite well. I know he's had one race. He did pretty good in that one race, let's be fair. He started from the back of the grid, finishing in the points considerably. Probably would have done better if he wouldn't have stopped on the outlap. I mean, Perez is just an absolutely solid driver, and I really think Red Bull will be looking for just a tad of stability over the course of the next few seasons, and I think they're finally going to get it with Perez. So I think Max and Perez, they're going to stay together as the best of friends at Red Bull. I also think Ferrari are going to stick with what they've got. Charles and Sainz, again, I think Sainz has basically decided he's going to be a secondary driver at a bigger team rather than the main driver at McLaren, and I mean, you've got to respect him for it a little bit. He's moved to Ferrari. It's a massive move for him. Coming from Red Bull, not quite making it with the Red Bull team, sort of making his way back up the grid, moving into a big Ferrari. And then Charles is obviously going to be there maybe, 15 years or something ridiculous. He's going to be there for the foreseeable future. So I can't see Ferrari changing. Also can't see McLaren changing. Daniel Ricciardo is such an incredible pickup. I know I say it in every single video. I'm going to bat on about Daniel Ricciardo. He is incredible in my opinion. And I think Lando Norris is their prospect for the future, right? I don't think they need to replace him anytime soon. He'll probably start to kick on, get those race wins eventually. And I think McLaren look to be in a really, really strong position. Ricciardo with lots and lots of experience. Lando coming in. Obviously, not a rookie anymore, but still feeling his way into Formula 1, still a very young driver. And I think as McLaren get better and better and better, which I think they will, under Ricciardo, sort of guiding them along, I think maybe Norris could be in for just being in the right place at the right time, being in the right team for long enough where McLaren sort of work their way back up to the top, maybe Mercedes and Red Bull fall away a little bit, and he could just be there and could just pick up a world champion by being there consistently. And I think he's going to stay there for the long term. So I don't think McLaren are going to change anything ridiculously. Aston Martin as well. I think as much as I have said, Seb is a little bit past it in my opinion and maybe needs a little bit of a break. I think the reason that they've paid big and I think the reason they've brought him in is so that he can be there for that transitional period from 2021 to 2022. He's a 4-time world champion. He's been all around the grid, Red Bull, Ferrari. He's been at these massive teams. He knows how big teams work. He can absolutely help with everything to do with the car. And yes, he is a little bit. There's a part of me that just thinks he's not going to be there next season if he drives the way he drove in Bahrain. But then there's also another bit of me which thinks Lawrence Stroll knows what he's doing. Lawrence Stroll is a bit of a conniving little person. I think he's brought him in for a very specific reason. And I think it is because I think Lance might outdo Vettel this season, and that will look very, very good for Lance because he can say that he outperformed a 4-time world champion in the same car. And of course, that means that he's probably going to guarantee himself that Aston Martin seat. Not that he really needs to perform to get that Aston Martin seat, but I think he's really going to sort of stick in there. And I said, Vettel and Stroll, they'll stay in the team for a good couple of years until that new car period is sort of over. Maybe Vettel has sort of diminished a little bit more, if that's even possible, and then he'll sort of give up the ghost. And finally, Haas. I think Haas will stay exactly the same. Mick Schumacher is a great driver. I think he's going to work his way up. I could maybe see him at Alfa Romeo and then Ferrari. Obviously, he's going to sort of work his way into that Ferrari team eventually. And Mazepin, Money talks. He is going to stay at Haas because Haas need as much money as they can possibly find. And money talks, Mazepin is going to stay there for the foreseeable future until Haas can at least get their finances in order and maybe start to look elsewhere for other drivers. So let's talk about the 5 teams I think are actually going to make changes. The first of which, Mercedes. Now, I actually thought about this for a really long time. I think Hamilton is maybe a bit done with Formula One. Obviously, he's doing those contracts. He's only doing 1-year extensions, 1-year extension. I just don't think he's in it for the long term anymore. I don't think he really wants to be there much longer. I think he'll stick it out to get that 8th title. And then if Mercedes start to fall off, he might just sort of call it a day, start doing the hundreds of other things that he's involved in outside of Formula One. But I think it will be Bottas that leaves first. And I think they will absolutely beg Hamilton to just stick for another couple of years. So I think even though he's only got 1 year on his contract, they will plead with him to just stick around for that 2022 season with all of the new logistics that are coming in. And also, I think they'll want to keep him because Bottas is clearly going to be replaced by George Russell. And I think Hamilton is going to end up being that sort of father figure to George Russell in the team. It's going to help bring him on a lot more. I think if we'd have seen George Russell with Hamilton at Sakhir rather than Bottas with Russell, I think Russell's race might have gone a little bit better, you know. I think Hamilton would have given him that extra boost, that extra little bit of encouragement maybe before the race, just to guide him in the correct direction, make sure he was ready for the race. And I think they'll try and keep Hamilton on for that reason. As incredible as George Russell looks, and my God, he looks absolutely phenomenal. Definitely on the cards to be a world champion if he can stick in those top teams. But I think they need Hamilton just for that little bit extra to just guide the team in the right direction. I could be completely wrong. I could easily see Bottas staying and Hamilton leaving. But I think just for now, Hamilton will stay and Bottas will get replaced by Russell. Then we have AlphaTauri, and this kind of painstaking because I really like Pierre Gasly. I think he hasn't really done much wrong. Obviously in the Red Bull he struggled, but since he's been back at AlphaTauri he's been absolutely exceptional. And Tsunoda obviously had an incredible first race and looks like a really good rookie, being sort of bled through that Red Bull team. He was absolutely amazing in Formula 2. I went back and watched some of his races last season. My goodness, he looks a talent. And I can see why there's so much hype around him. He's definitely going to move up to that Red Bull team eventually. I think Pierre Gasly is probably going to move on. And I think he's going to be replaced by Albon. Now, Albon, I'm not sure. I know that he's in the periphery of the Red Bull team, but they have a lot of good drivers in Formula 2 as well. So I could see it being Albon, but again, I could see it being maybe one of their junior drivers. I think just because Albon's got that little bit of experience, and they probably don't want to have a rookie, and then maybe a rookie plus one in Tsunoda, and then a rookie as well. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I can see Albon coming in maybe only for a year or so, and then they reshuffle the Red Bull team as they always do. Alfa Romeo, Kimi Räikkönen's got to give up at some point, right? He is just, I know he's incredible, and I know for Alfa Romeo, his intelligence, his understanding of driving is just second to none. He has taken that team and probably single-handedly given them points that they probably didn't really deserve, not only on the track, but also back in the factory, just giving that feedback on the car. He is invaluable, but I don't think he'll want to stick it out for 2022. I think with all of the new rules coming in, he's probably had enough. He'll want to move on, and I can see him being replaced. I had to have a think about this one. I was looking at the Ferrari junior drivers, but obviously Gio is supposed to be the Ferrari half of the Alfa Romeo garage. So I think if he stays, maybe Ferrari won't have much of a say in the secondary driver that comes in to replace Kimi. And therefore I thought they're probably going to want someone with experience. They're probably going to want someone who can conceivably get points for them, and someone who's in the periphery of F1. And then the news broke that Nico Hülkenberg is obviously the secondary driver for Aston Martin now. And I thought, could Nico Hülkenberg actually come back in one last time? Could he finally get that podium that has been eluding him? And I thought, why not? Maybe only for 1 year, maybe just some experienced shoulders. He's been at lots of different teams. He's obviously had a go in F1. He knows all his way around the paddock. He knows what he wants out of a car. Yeah, I could see him just being there to get consistent points, consistent finishes for Alfa Romeo, whilst they again go through that transition period. Alpine, I think, are also going to change. Now, most people are probably thinking Fernando Alonso, but again, in a similar way to Vettel, I think Fernando Alonso has been brought in solely as someone who can guide them through that transition period, can just continually be a good, solid driver with really honest and critical feedback during that transition period between 2021 and 2022. I actually think Ocon might come under a bit of pressure, and obviously they are wanting a French driver. So a French driver who's just been out of a seat and maybe wants to sort of try something a bit new, maybe wants to separate himself a little bit from the Red Bull team. And I know it would be really contentious as Ocon and Pierre Gasly do not get on, but I think Pierre Gasly might be the man. He's French, goes in there. Alpine absolutely need a French driver in their roster. They love the fact that they have Ocon as a French driver. They'll want Pierre Gasly. They'll need Alonso and Alonso's experience to guide them forward. I think Pierre Gasly could end up at Alpine, and I think he could maybe take a step forward, you know. I think he could do even better than he has been doing in the Toro Rosso. Just because it's a new environment for him, it's something for him to completely have by himself, have his own take on things, and really just take himself to that next level. Finally then, we have the Williams drivers. Obviously, I've said George Russell is going to be moving on. And I was looking at other Mercedes junior drivers, and there's no one really that catches my eye. Everyone's a little bit old. Like Stoffel Van Dorn obviously could come in, but everyone's a little bit older. And I think Williams will want to keep that sort of fresh face. I think they'll want to keep that really good relationship that they've got with Mercedes. And therefore, I think even though he's a little bit older, they'll want consistency, and consistency comes from Valtteri Bottas. I think they're going to do a switch just because of the relationship between Mercedes and Williams, how they've treated George Russell so incredibly well, how George Russell obviously helped them out at Sakir when Hamilton couldn't be there. I think they're going to do the switch. I think the only thing stopping them is whether Bottas really wants to go back to Williams and possibly sit towards the back of the grid. But again, I think they'll want an experienced driver in. I think they'll want someone with actual, realistic Formula One winning races experience. And Bottas is the best person for them to go for that. Again, because they need someone to help with that transition between the 2021 regulations and the 2022. I feel like I've battered on about that a lot, but I feel like that's such a massive thing for the teams at the moment, and that's the main thing that they're going to be thinking about. So this is my 2022 lineup. Here it is in all of its glory. 2022 looks like this. So just to summarize, Hamilton with Russell, Verstappen with Perez, Ricciardo with Lando, Vettel with Stroll still, Charles with Sainz, Albon coming in. I know that's very contentious, but I think Albon is good enough to warrant him having another little bite of the cherry in Formula One before completely casting him aside. With Tsunoda, Hulkenberg coming in with Gio. Then we've got Pierre Gasly taking Ocon's seat. Again, very, very contentious with Alonso. Bottas with Latifi, and then finally Schumacher keeping his seat probably for one more year before he maybe steps up to Alfa Romeo or maybe straight into the Ferrari seat. That would be something to really keep an eye on. And then Mazepin, as he has been well known across. But let me know what you think. Have I missed something completely massive there? Have I made a clear and glaring error? Because this was just my thoughts on everything. I was sort of trying to work out where the grid's going to shuffle. There was massive changes last season, so I don't think there's going to be too many changes, but I think a lot of teams will want an older shoulders to sort of put their ideas to for 2022, have them guide the team through the new regulations. I think every team will want just that one driver with lots and lots of experience. So there it is again, my 2022. Maybe you can have a go yourself. Let me know what you think of these also in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like, that would be absolutely exceptional. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.